Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back for another episode of Traffic Talk with Tyler. Let me know if you can hear me. Type in the chat if I'm coming through loud and clear. There were some issues with YouTube at first when I was first going live, some delays, stuff like that. Anyways, I'm going to assume that I'm coming through clear unless you tell me otherwise. So, welcome back for another episode. So, just a quick bit about myself. My name is Tyler Day. I'm the co-founder of a company called optimizetoconvert. We are mainly in the lead generation space. So we spend over $100,000 a day on digital advertising to generate leads for insurance companies and finance companies. And really we're here to just share some tips. So we don't really have anything to sell. We're not here to sell coaching. We're really just here to kind of chat and talk about what's going on in our business. And really, this is more of a casual conversation. So if you want to join in the chat and ask any questions live, feel free to do so. So today we're going to be focused on first talking a little bit about what we're doing with pay per call. So I've touched on this a little bit before, but my company's been really doing more and more in the pay per call space in the past quarter or so, and I want to share with you guys some tips in that area. So yeah, sure, let's get into it. And at the end, we're going to be talking about what's going on in crypto too. Actually, we're going to be talking a lot about that today. So, anyways, let's talk about pay per call. So, like I've mentioned in the past, pay per call is something that we've really been liking recently. So, our main business has been selling leads. So, imagine a user fills out a lead form and then that gets sold, and a call center tries to contact the lead and sell them an insurance plan or something of that sort. Another way to get paid generating leads is by actually just driving calls directly to call centers. So this is called doing inbound, driving inbound calls. Okay. And usually how this works is that you will get paid a fixed amount based on the duration that somebody is on the call. So sometimes the payment structure could look like a 20 or $30 payout for them to just stay on a call for 2 minutes or so, or the payout could be much much higher, like $50 plus, or in some cases even north of $100 if somebody calls in to the call center and stays on for north of 10 minutes or something. So pay per call, we're really liking this. We've really been strong in our area of building relationships with buyers that will buy our calls. So, yeah, we've really been seeing some good success there. We've mainly been operating in the insurance vertical as of lately. So, I'll share with you some tips as far as what we've discovered in pay per call. So, first and foremost, when you're doing pay per call, you need to make sure that there's no disconnect between people that are coming from your ad and people. Basically, you don't want there to be any disconnect between what people's intention are when they call from your ad. So, a mistake that we made very early on while doing pay per call was basically running an ad that had a number directly in the ad. So the first attempt that we ever made with pay per call was on Google search. And let's say it's the vertical is car insurance. We would have an ad for comparing car insurance rates with a number for them to call in the ad. What we ended up finding out was that the ad that we had on Google search was very short, and there's not a whole lot of text that you can put in a Google search ad. So a lot of people were calling in the number and they were very confused, thinking that it was maybe a customer support line for their car insurance or something like that. And there was a lot of disconnect. Um, so what we started to do instead was run more robust ads where we run a video ad, for example, where we're really explaining over the course of 45 seconds or 60 seconds exactly what we're offering. So, whether it be comparing car insurance rates to get a more affordable rate or something like that. So, running an ad that had a little bit more robust messaging was helpful to start to get more quality people in the door. And not only that, but we stopped putting our phone number for them to call in the actual ad itself. And instead, we drove them to a website where the user would answer a handful of questions, and then we would allow them to call in if they qualified for all of the questions. So for car insurance, like we'd want to make sure that they're a driver and that they're actually interested in a lower car insurance rate. And we really want it to be very clear what the services that they're offering and what they are to call in about. So a big thing when you're doing pay per call is that you can actually get all of the recordings from the call center. So after somebody hangs up the phone, you'll have a full recording of the whole conversation. And one thing that's made a big difference for us is actually listening to the calls. Okay, you don't have to listen to every single call that comes in, but let's say that you start an ad one day and you get 10 or 20 calls or something, you're going to want to listen to them at least right away, because sometimes there can be really good discoveries that can be made in the ad. So if there is something in your ad copy that somebody is calling in about and they're confused about it, or let's say that you're making a certain claim in your ad and the user is saying, "Oh, I saw an ad about this," and the call center has no idea what they're talking about, then there can be a disconnect there. Also, these call center representatives are also working off of scripts usually. And if your ad is not really lining up correctly with the specific script that the call center is using, then there can be a lot of disconnect there. So, what I would advise doing is listening to the call recordings that come in and building, modifying your ad based on the script of the call center itself. So if a call center representative is leading into their pitch for an insurance plan or something with a specific hook or with a specific benefit or something like that, then you should probably make that a focus in your ad. So that way, when the user's calling in, they're saying, "Hey, I saw an ad about this specific benefit," and the call center rep can work right off of that and then close them into whatever the service is. Okay. So that's a big thing with pay per call. Also, with pay per call, you want to monitor the calls during the call center hours, because what can happen sometimes, if a call center is buying calls from multiple different sources, then sometimes they can start getting busy and actually start dropping calls. So we've seen this happen sometimes where basically the people are calling in and the calls just aren't really getting picked up by the call center, or they're dropping. And you really want to be there to monitor this during the call center hours, usually between 9 and 5 Eastern time. And you always want to have at least one or two backup buyers in place where if a call center starts to drop calls, you can then redirect the calls to a backup buyer. Okay. So this means that when you're considering, a media buyer to hire or something like that, it's actually important that whoever you have managing the ads is um, there to monitor them during the call center hours. And it's really important that they're attentive, because, like I said, you can actually lose money if you are not paying attention to it and just checking stats the next day. So, a little bit more hands on than maybe you're used to. But yeah, it's something that I would advise. Okay. So, yeah, so we've been doing well in the pay per call space. I do want to mention that we are looking to hire some more media buyers here for if you want to come on board with us and run pay per call offers on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. Yeah, we're like I said, we're mostly looking for people that are willing to work from 9 to 5 p.m. and really we're looking for people that are willing to work very, very hard. So yeah, if you really want to um, be a good fit with us, you really you must be willing to not get some sleep sometimes and to really grind and really hustle. We do prefer that you have some media buying experience, and if you have experience with video editing and landing page design, we would like to see that too. So um, right now, we're mostly looking for people to be full time with us, so we're not really hiring people on a part time basis. And you got to be willing to be basically 100% devoted to what we're doing with our company and be willing to do it for the entire day, pretty much. So one of our media buyers has really been knocking it out of the park, and I want to share with you sort of what his workload looks like and sort of what his output is to achieve the results that he's doing. So we have a lot of different media buyers on our team that do different things. Pay per call is just one area that we're working in, but really right now um, we're we're seeing good results with pay per call, but it's not a huge part of our business. Like it's maybe only about 20% of what we're doing. Sorry, one second. Sorry about that. So our best media buyer right now, I don't want to name his name for privacy reasons, but I just want to share with you sort of what his daily workload looks like so that you can understand sort of the output that's required to achieve these kind of results. So this one media buyer actually contributes 30K a day of our 100K a day revenue. So he's producing about one third of our entire company revenue himself. And this is really the best media buyer that I've ever worked with. We've been working together for about 3 or 4 months. It's someone that I've coached personally on Facebook ads. And right now he's running about 17 different campaigns. So he's mainly focused on pay per call, and he's running an insurance campaign where basically we have 12 different call centers plus that are buying the leads, and each of these is running in its own campaign. And he's also running some different verticals as well to generate leads. So overall, he's running about 17 campaigns, and I've seen him launch as much as 50 ads in a single day. And, not even just image ads, we're talking video ads. So he is like a real powerhouse. So I would say right now he's probably working about 12 to 14 hours a day, which is probably a lot more than people are typically used to. But this individual is just very motivated and very driven. And his 30K a day in revenue has been producing about 10K a day in profit. And we pay our media buyers a 20% profit share. So out of his 30K a day revenue, he's actually pocketing about $2,000 a day. So this media buyer, this individual is actually on track to earn over $600,000 in salary with us on his 20% profit share. So granted, this has been the hardest working media buyer that we've ever had in our company. And I definitely understand that this is not like a normal level of output or a normal level of performance, but I just want to share with you sort of what it takes to get to that sort of level. So if you want to run campaigns at that sort of level, you really need to be able to have a tremendous amount of output. So just launching 1 or 2 ads a day is probably not going to work, and only running 1 or 2 campaigns is probably not going to work either. So like I said, this individual is running 17 different campaigns. I've seen him launch as much as 50 different video ads in a single day. He's typically working very, very long hours, 12, 14 hours a day. And he takes very, very fast action. So that's one quality that's very important in a media buyer, is that as soon as we tell him something to do something, he's basically, working on it 5 minutes later. And whatever we tell him to do, whatever deadline that we give him, he is always able to achieve it. So um, this is really the sort of caliber of media buyer that we're looking to hire and work with. And um, yeah, I mean, I think this really is what it takes if you want to, really succeed as an affiliate. So when I was running campaigns solo with Peter, just the two of us, 5+ years ago, and we started seeing good results, this sort of output was pretty similar to what I was doing. So I would start my day, in the morning, and I would end my day at 9 or 10 p.m., working like 12+ hours a day. I was managing many campaigns, launching many different ads per day. Um, Kind of doing around this same thing, and we were able to achieve similar results to this media buyer. So if you're wanting to come on with us and work on our team, that's sort of like the expectation that we have. So we're really looking for driven, motivated people that are willing to really grind it out. So moving on, I want to talk about another topic, which is Facebook. So we recently had our first quarter of negative user growth on Facebook. So this is more just talking about like the general amount of users on Facebook. And it's kind of a significant news event that this is the first time in history that Facebook has not been able to keep up with its user growth. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this and why I think that this is happening and what we can do about it. So Facebook has been a big part of our business for years, and even still it's our biggest traffic source. So when I see the news that the user growth is declining, to me that is sort of a red flag, because a decline in users um, and an increase of advertising on that platform means that potentially the traffic could start to get more expensive if more and more people are trying to advertise to a dwindling pool of users. So why do I think that this is happening? So first of all, it's important to realize something about network effects. So Facebook has a very, very strong network effect, because for everyone that's on Facebook, the way that they benefit from using friends and family. So the more friends and family that they had to connect with, the more utility they could get out of the platform. So in the early days of Facebook, they were really incentivized to invite all their friends and family and grow the network sort of organically like that. And very quickly, over a handful of years, the Facebook platform scaled to several billion users. So almost like a third or a quarter of the entire planet is on Facebook now. So it, obviously they can't keep growing at that rate. There's only 8 billion humans on Earth. If there's already a couple billion of them using it, they can't just keep growing, doubling their user base every single year. They're just going to run out of people. And I think that's where we're at right now, is that the network has basically reached its peak growth. So what that means is that, yeah, we can probably expect the growth to slow down or diminish entirely. And what's happening is users are moving to other platforms and apps like TikTok or Twitter or Snapchat. A lot of younger people too, now their parents and grandmas on Facebook. They're not as keen to post their whole lives on it. They're more so looking at other applications like TikTok to um, put out content. And yeah, I mean, what it means is that you can't be married to any one traffic source. So that's a big reason why in the past year that we branched out to running ads on TikTok and YouTube, is because we need other options. We can't only be relying on Facebook as our main advertising platform, because the costs are just going up more and more, and now the user growth is actually diminishing. So the outlook is actually not great over a multi-year time horizon. So you really want to keep an open mind and definitely keep um, developing new skills. Okay. So another thing that Facebook announced is that they're rebranding their company to Meta. And Meta is essentially going to be a VR platform. Okay. So obviously it's clear that many people are going to be spending hours per day in a virtual reality sort of setting in the not too distant future. And Facebook is aiming to capitalize on this. And honestly, I'm not so sure it makes sense. As far as what I've seen from the Meta product, it to me looks like having sort of virtual business meetings, and you look like a Wii Sports character, and the graphics are pretty minimal, and there's not really much you can do other than maybe play a chess game with someone and look like a Wii Sports character. To me, it really doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. And this is another big red flag for me when it comes to Facebook, because obviously their current product is on a decline. And now they are trying to capitalize on another opportunity of VR. But to me, I don't know. Like when I think about their product here, it doesn't really seem very exciting to me. It doesn't really seem like anything that I would certainly spend any time doing. It seems pretty bizarre that they would rebrand their entire company over one specific application that hasn't really been battle tested at all, or they don't even really know if people are going to adopt it. But yet they've rebranded their entire company name to Meta to work off of this. So to me, that's a big red flag. Um, Granted, I think there will be advertising opportunities in VR. So just like we see ads in the real world, there will certainly be ads that are served in virtual reality. But yeah, it's a little bit of a red flag. So I think that one thing to talk about is really the trend overall of the metaverse and how this sort of ties into Facebook. So Facebook, they're naming their company Meta after the metaverse, but the reality is that there's going to be multiple different metaverses. And think of these different metaverses as basically VR platforms that are sort of like cities. So people are going to virtually travel to these different cities and do things in a virtual reality setting, whether it be um, go to a concert in virtual reality or explore a virtual reality city. But this is obviously a big opportunity. I do believe that when the technology advances a little bit, that people will be spending a significant amount of time in the metaverse. So right now, the first introduction that I had to the metaverse was actually through crypto. So the first metaverse that I experienced was an application called Decentraland, which is built on top of Ethereum. And Decentraland is basically a virtual reality city where people can buy plots of land and develop their own buildings, develop their own mini games within their plots of land. Um, we've seen big crypto companies, big exchanges building their exchange headquarters in Decentraland. And to me, this concept made a lot of sense because this is sort of like a ground zero for a lot of innovation. And the fact that anyone can enter Decentraland and buy a plot of land permissionlessly and build something on it and invite people to an event on their land, or build a game on their own land that people come and play. I think that there's a whole ton of opportunity there. And when I see something like what Facebook is doing with Meta, um, I just have a lot of questions. I'm wondering if Meta will incorporate crypto, if they'll incorporate some sort of permissionless aspect to it where anyone can use it without disclosing any of their personal information or identity. Um, yeah, I wonder if it will be like that, or whether it'll be sort of a walled garden where you have to go through all these sort of security checks, and then it's not really open and sort of restrictive like Facebook currently is, and people can get censored or kicked off. If that is the case, then I'm definitely going to be bearish on it, but I'm curious to see how this plays out. So I've heard rumors of this being interoperable with crypto, but I'm not really sure. But what I see going on in general right now is this is a little bit of a trend of moving from Web 2 to Web 3. So I'm sure you've heard of this term Web 3, and it's sort of a buzzword right now, more of a theoretical thing than a reality, but we are seeing some early signs of an enormous trend of basically a shift as monumental as the creation of the internet itself. So, Web 2 are basically companies like Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Google, and Web 2 giant companies are all about monopolizing data. So, Facebook, Google, they want to own your data and they want to use that data to make money off of you. And Web3 is all about self ownership of data. So in Web3, there's no centralized tech giant that owns all of your data. In Web3, you own all your data and you can take personal ownership of your own data. So this started with Bitcoin and the idea of basically owning your own money in a digital wallet that you own the private keys to, that no one else can access. But now it's expanding into other sorts of applications and networks. So we're now seeing things like NFTs, digital property, digital identities that you can create that are private. We see things like financial applications that don't have any intermediary, things like borrowing and lending that there's nothing but lines of code that are facilitating the transactions and all of the funds remain in your own custody. We're seeing things like permissionless token swaps where you can swap one sort of cryptocurrency for another cryptocurrency and own all of that in your own wallet without any intermediary. And yeah, I mean it's really exciting. And Web 2, so Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Google, they'll likely retain their monopoly on their existing use cases for now because the nature of big tech networks is that it's very, very hard to disrupt a big tech network like Facebook or YouTube unless you have some sort of 100x improvement on the platform. Being that, as far as Facebook is concerned, most of the utilities with the user base, and Facebook already has billions of users, it's very unlikely that someone is going to come along and disrupt that use case as far as the current way that the platform works. And same with YouTube. So YouTube is a giant network, and obviously everyone has sort of circled around this as a place to publish content and create it sort of like a library. And yeah, it's really unlikely that some other Web3 company is going to come along and actually replace or disrupt these big tech networks. But what Web3 applications will do is they're going to create their own parallel economy for different types of applications. And these types of applications, due to the open network aspect where anyone can build or participate, is going to far surpass the size of these Web 2 big tech giants. Okay. So, this is a very, very important concept to understand. So, the idea of Bitcoin or Ethereum, for example, owning your own money that no one can confiscate, that is sound outside of government control, that anyone can participate in, that anyone can submit improvement propositions to, um, or applications that are built on the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine, where anyone can deploy an application and anyone can use these applications without disclosing any sort of personal information. Anyone can build on it, anyone can participate. And this sort of open, permissionless technology layer is incredibly powerful. So, what we're going to see is we're going to see a whole another multi trillion asset class. So crypto is already a $2 trillion asset class. I believe that we're going to actually see this grow to a $100 trillion plus asset class in the coming decades. So the ideas behind Web3 are incredibly powerful. And Web3 is not there to replace Web2. Web3 is there to be its own completely different thing. So right now, the type of things that we're seeing on Web3, first and foremost, are related to financial applications. So like I said, it started with Bitcoin, but now we actually have an entire financial system and an entire parallel economy running on crypto rails. Um, we've seen all sorts of new financial applications like staking, stablecoin yield, borrowing and lending, permissionless token swaps, and currently there's over $260 billion locked up in smart contracts in these new financial applications that wasn't there 2 years ago. So I was actually there in the beginning of the rise of DeFi and the smart contract space when it just started to pick up steam in 2020. At that time, there were just only a couple decentralized applications that were doing things like token swaps, like Uniswap. There were some borrowing and lending protocols like Compound or Aave. And when I joined, there was really only a couple $1 billion of value locked into these financial applications. Now that amount has grown several hundred X in a very, very short period of time. So just in a short year and a half or so, that couple $1 billion has now ballooned to over $250 billion. And this is really just the beginning. So, the growth rate has been astronomical, and we're going to see this Web3 economy grow to something that's bigger than anyone can even imagine. Okay. So, um, let's see. We have some questions here related to lead gen. So let's talk about this a little bit. So somebody asks, how much budget do I need to start running ads in the lead gen space? I would say you should try to have at least like 5 or 10K set aside. So in order to get profitable as an affiliate, you need to test a lot of offers, right? And if you're new, there's definitely some money that can be lost testing. Okay, so I would definitely advise having at least $5 to $10,000 that you don't mind just completely um, losing. And yeah, if you only have like a couple $1,000s to your name or something like that, um, yeah, it's okay. But you might want to just save up a little bit more money and maybe spend some more time going through courses and really trying to increase your skill and work as hard as you can with different side jobs or your day job to save up enough to where you have enough budget to really make it work. So let's see. Somebody asked, "Hey Tyler, I have two questions if you don't mind. One, do I need agency ad accounts to run on Facebook?" No, I don't think so. So unless you're running something really aggressive, then you can definitely run ads on a normal ad account. But it would be wise to have some friends and family agree to let you use their ad accounts, um, just so you have some backups there. Um, Two, is it necessary to use special category for solar lead gen? Um, Maybe. Um, let's see. I actually don't know 100% the answer to that off the top of my head. It might be necessary depending on how you're pitching it. So sometimes with solar, there can be financing involved where they might need to check somebody's credit. So if that's part of your offering, then that could fall under the credit category. But if you're not using any financing language in your ads or including that as part of your script or angle, then I don't think you would need to use special category. Let's see. Somebody asked, do you still run ads for ClickBank, MaxWeb type offers? No, yeah. So right now we're not. I think that there definitely are some good offers on there. We tested a whole bunch of those like towards the end of 2021 and didn't have too much results. But I know people do well on ClickBank and MaxWeb, so it probably just requires more testing. I'm probably going to revisit it within the next couple months and see if I can find some winning offers there. But for right now, we're mostly just doing lead gen offers and um, generating calls. Okay. All right. So that's all the questions for now. Um, so anyways, yeah, there's a big shift going on, and these Web 2 tech giants, they sort of have their own monopoly on data. But as we move into this world where people can own their own data, um, there's going to be a big opportunity. And I don't want to say never, but yeah, it's definitely possible that even a company like Facebook could eventually get disrupted by another type of ad network that wasn't as predatory with the user's data. So if there was a ad network, for example, that did not store any data on the users and maybe even paid users a share of their advertising revenue, um, paid people to post things, or I don't know exactly, but let's just make up like a potential idea of something that could potentially disrupt um, Facebook. So let's say that there was a social media platform where people had to pay to engage with things. So, there's a big problem on like these current social media platforms where there's a lot of spam and a lot of um, junk comments and stuff like that. But what if somebody had to pay a penny to leave a comment on your post? And you had to basically pay that in a cryptocurrency that was related to the ad platform. And when you pay to post like that, money goes directly to the creator of the post. That would kind of create a really powerful network effect because it would incentivize people that had large followings and a big audience to post on a platform where they could get directly compensated for the engagement on their stuff. Or let's say that there was this crypto social media platform and they had an ad platform where it didn't really store any specific user data, and it was all the user data was like automatically encrypted, and there was no intermediary to read any of that data or extract any of the data from the platform. So that something like that would be really interesting. Or yeah, what if there was an aspect to a social media platform where there was a cryptocurrency that people had to use to pay for the ads, and when the ad money was spent, the cryptocurrency was basically burned and destroyed. And if there was a fixed supply and people are spending money on an ad platform, and the money that was being spent was basically being removed from the circulating supply of the coin, that would put a upward trajectory on the price of the coin if the supply was basically diminishing. So I'm making this up, but there's going to be use cases that come along for decentralized social media, um, for different types of applications that could potentially disrupt existing monopolies like Facebook or Google. But for now, that's not the case. But we really need to just keep an open mind and also just hedge your bets a little bit. So yeah, like I'm Facebook ads is still a big part of my business, but now I'm also getting a lot more involved with investing into the Web3 space. So I don't want to be left behind with any of these massive trends. And yeah, you just need to keep an open mind about everything. So even the entire advertising industry in general could look completely different in 10 years than it does now. Um, the opportunities to make money can completely shift in a time frame like that. So while there's currently like an ad arbitrage opportunity where, everyday folks like me and you can afford to run ads on Facebook and Google, it's possible that that could no longer be the case in 5 or 10 years. So, what that means is that you need to really be paying attention to what the current trends are. And right now, the biggest trend that I'm seeing is this Web3 movement. So, what kind of things are really investable in Web3 at that point? Then, so where you need to be looking at for this Web3 environment is basically where applications are being developed. So outside of Bitcoin, we saw a huge rise with applications being built on Ethereum. I mentioned, the type of financial applications that are being developed, but a big problem with Ethereum is that the fees are very, very high, and the chain is not really set up to scale in the way that it's currently built. So that's kind of a big problem. Like when somebody does a transaction on Ethereum with one of these applications, they are usually paying hundreds of dollars in a transaction fee for a single transaction. Um, so now what we're seeing are competitors to Ethereum coming up that um, basically don't have that fee issue, and they brought unique innovations to the space to allow for scalability. So one specific network that I'm really interested in is the Avalanche network. So Avalanche is only about a year old or so, um, brand new, and basically Avalanche was created by this guy Amin Gun Sirer, and this individual actually came up with one of the first concepts for permissionless digital cash in the early thousands, way before Bitcoin was even created. Um, the technology wasn't all there as far as his concept, so it never really took off. But he actually brought some really unique innovations to the space with the Avalanche network that fixes a lot of the scalability issues that's involved with creating decentralized applications and having them run at scale with millions of users. So um, Avalanche is basically a network for building applications. Um, the way that it currently works on Ethereum is that every application is using one chain, the Ethereum mainnet chain. And they're all sort of playing by the same rules, and they're all subject to the same fees. But what we've seen in the past year is we've seen basically a trend of major applications not being able to scale on Ethereum and moving to either different chains or their own chain. So just like we saw in the beginning of crypto, there only being one cryptocurrency, and then all of a sudden there being thousands of cryptocurrencies. What we're going to see in the Web3 space is there not only being one or two blockchains, but there's actually going to be thousands of blockchains, and it's likely that applications will be running on their own dedicated blockchains where they can set their own speed, set their own fees, and be able to just adjust it as needed. So having a one size fit all chain like Ethereum to run applications really doesn't work at scale. So Avalanche brought a really unique innovation to this space for horizontal scaling. So Avalanche has a mainnet similar to Ethereum where anyone can deploy on the one blockchain, and the fees are pretty low. So instead of paying $200, you might only have to pay 20 cents. But Avalanche has a really unique capability where someone can deploy their own blockchain on Avalanche, and basically set all of their own parameters. So, we saw issues in 2017 when things like CryptoKitties took off, and, a single application basically crashed the entire network. And now, we've seen this new era where crypto applications like the Gain Axie Infinity are deploying on their own chain. And now we're seeing these sort of super scalable chains, and some of them are being built on Avalanche subnets where, yeah, they can control all the different aspects of their chain. So I think that this is really important, especially as we move into a more regulatory phase of crypto, where all of these different crypto applications now have to fit within a regulatory framework before they can really become mass adopted. So if you have an application that's doing something like token swaps, I mean, it's possible that the government could require people to have to, provide some sort of proof of identity before using an app like this, or have just some compliance measures in place. So, the laws are different in every country for how they treat crypto. And having just like a one size fit all chain doesn't really work at mass scale. So, with something like a subnet, you could have, you could build something like a, um, security token exchange where it was fully regulatory compliant, where people can provide all the necessary KYC stuff and be able to exchange stocks on crypto rails, where you could have an Apple token where you can have final settlement in under a second, where currently it takes days for trades to settle. You can take ownership of that asset, where currently you need to be using um, a brokerage. So there's a lot of huge innovations coming down the pipeline, and eventually, what's going to happen is um, we're going to see these sort of financial applications merge with traditional finance. And I can tell you right now that it's probably not going to be built on just like a one size fits all permissionless network. There's going to be some things that are completely open and permissionless. There's going to be other things that are regulatory compliant, and they're going to need a tremendous amount of scalability. So if you had a security token exchange where there were millions of transactions happening per second, you would need that chain to be extremely scalable. So they would need to be able to set their own fees and be able to adjust them as needed. That kind of thing you could do on an Avalanche subnet. Um, so, anyways, this is sort of a complicated topic, but when you have to think about where to deploy capital in this space, you should be thinking about where the scalability is going to be occurring. And basically, whatever chain has the capability for the highest scalability and also is able to be um, adjustable, where you can set your own parameters around your own network. Um, there's basically going to be an infinite demand for this sort of network. So currently, this is where I'm seeing the fastest user growth for crypto layer one network. A layer one meaning a network where you can deploy applications on top of it. It went from basically 0 to a million transactions a day in under a year, and a million transactions a day is about as much as Ethereum is currently doing. So, in just a short year, we've almost surpassed the transaction volume of Ethereum on Avalanche. Right now, this is the second place to Ethereum as far as total value locked in smart contracts. So on Ethereum, there's about 160 billion in TVL, total value locked in smart contracts. On Avalanche, there's about 18 billion in TVL, which is more than any other chain. So it's more than Solana, it's more than Binance Smart Chain, it's more than any of the other competitors. And granted, the competition is fierce, so these numbers can change on a daily basis. But um, we've really been seeing some tremendous growth, and the tokenomics make a lot of sense with Avalanche, and we can talk about that more as we go. But what you need to be doing during this time of rapid innovation um, is basically looking at where the opportunities lie. And right now, we've been in sort of a mini bear market, so it's a really good time to do some research into these different areas and really see where developers are building on. So in 2019, 2020, we saw a lot of developers building these applications on Ethereum that ended up um, bringing us to where we are now. But now, where I'm seeing the development activity is actually not on Ethereum, but rather on these other networks like Avalanche that are extremely scalable and are, yeah, bringing on users hand over fist. So, where the development is occurring is basically the future. So, yeah, just pay attention to it. There's other chains like Solana. Um, that are competing, and there's interesting stuff going on there too. But um, anyways, I want to um, head back to the comments here. Somebody asked, what verticals you guys run on SMS, and where do you get data? um, yeah, so I've actually been winding down the SMS side of our business. So SMS was something that we learned about a year ago, and yeah, we were working with some partners like advertisers that own lead gen sites of basically monetizing their data through SMS. It ended up not being quite as lucrative as I'd hoped because of the nature of the type of data that we were getting. It just I don't know, it just wasn't that lucrative for us, so it wasn't quite worth the time to focus on. I ended up sort of winding that down within the past couple months and focusing more on newer traffic sources like YouTube. So yeah, right now we're not doing a whole lot on SMS. Granted, now that we are generating a lot of phone data with our pay per call campaigns, we might actually start getting into it, but um, instead of managing data for other advertisers where they might be sharing their data with a handful of different SMS service providers, we'll probably just be only monetizing our own data moving forward from campaigns that we're running and doing more like retargeting campaigns, um, stuff like that. So yeah, we're not doing a whole lot in SMS right now. I think we're going to start gearing back up, but um, it's probably going to look a little bit different than it did for us in the past year. So, yeah. Um, Somebody asked any opportunities for copywriters. Yeah, I mean, certainly open to talking about it. Right now, I'm having mostly my internal media buyers write their own copy for the ads that they're running. Uh, Copy is really one of the most important aspects of running ads. So to me, it's really important quality that a media buyer is able to write good copy. So right now, we're mostly relying on our own media buyers to write copy, but um, yeah, there could be opportunities for us to hire outside copywriters. We've certainly done it before. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. Let me know if you have any last questions. Anyways, I enjoyed sharing this stuff with you today. And, we got pretty high level there with some different concepts, especially related to Web3 and crypto. And let me know if you want to keep hearing about that kind of stuff. I know it's a little bit in a different industry than sort of what the main channel is about here. And if this is something that you're getting value out of, let me know. If there's any specific topics that you would like me to cover in the future, let me know. I'm doing these about every 2 weeks. Okay. So you can expect the next the next one to happen a couple weeks from now. I haven't been like picking any specific date just because my schedule has been pretty dynamic. So I don't really want to be tied down to like any one specific day or time to do it. But whenever I do these sessions, I will announce it the day before in the Affiliates Ask Anything group on Facebook. So if you are in that group, then you'll know when we're going to go live. If you want to, um, if you have any ideas for what you'd like me to talk about in the future, if you are, if you have experience on this in this space, and you want to even come on here and co-host with me and come on Traffic Talk, I'm interested in that too. So feel free to reach out. And yeah, if you are an affiliate in this space and you're looking to expand your scope of opportunities as far as offers or buyers for pay per call, we can plug you into our partner network. So we have basically partners that work with us where we can get you access to pay per call offers or some of our own offers. Yeah, so if you want to work with us as an affiliate, it's certainly possible. So reach out to me on Skype. My Skype address is tdayskype123, and I'll leave that in the description below. Anyways, guys, I'll see you next time. Take care.